everything that I want. It's everything that I need in life. It's everything that I want in life. I keep saying things that are giving things away. So, and she has or some people just hated this book and I thought it was great. Hi everyone, it's Audrey and welcome back to Chapter and Converse, and welcome back to more books I read over the past couple months when I haven't been on Booktube. If you haven't seen the first video, I will link that down below so you guys can check it out. I'm basically running through all the books I have read in the past few months because I just haven't been filming videos, which if you follow me, you know, and if you're new here, welcome. And yes, we're gonna dive right in. The next book is another one that has all the things I love in life, which are dual timelines, mystery in the past, mystery in the present, guy who doesn't want to have to return to his hometown, but he has to come back to his hometown begrudgingly, and shit just goes crazy when he gets there. So this is The Shadow Friend by Alex North, aka The Shadows in the US. This is the UK cover. Let's just take a minute to appreciate why doesn't every book have this kind of an interior? Like, the naked cover is nothing to be excited about. This is everything to be excited about in life. So he wrote The Whisper Man, which I haven't read yet, but I own. And I don't know why I picked up this one first, but I did, and I loved it. This book, out of the gate, is creepy. It gets a little bloody. There's definitely, I feel like this is like a little Riley Sager in that it dances the line of thriller and horror and you're not quite sure what's going on. And I love it. You guys know I love Riley Sager. If you're new here, spoiler alert, I love Riley Sager. And I feel like this perfectly dances the line between the two and just had me guessing and flipping and freaked out. But at the same time, there were like emotionally gut-wrenching parts of this where I probably literally could have cried. It just, all the things. So this is about a guy named Paul, and 25 years ago, it says, troubled teenager Charlie Crabtree committed a shocking and unprovoked murder. For Paul Adams, it's a day he'll never forget. Charlie's victim was his friend, and so was Charlie. He's never forgiven himself for his part in what happened. He's never gone back home. So he has to come home because his mom is sick and a copycat murder happens and in a different town. And Paul winds up kind of getting pulled into it. And he has to revisit everything that happened back then and acknowledge his part in everything and deal with like all the stuff. And things go off the rails. And I loved it. Loved it. I cannot say enough good things about this book. I thought it was amazing. It's another book you can't really say too much because I don't want to give anything away. I really enjoyed Alex North's writing. I liked the characters. I liked the complexity of things. I liked the reveal. I was like so creeped out at certain points, but like I loved it. I definitely have turned on my horror switch a little bit. So I enjoyed this. I definitely need to pick up The Whisper Man. It's up here. And I'm a big fan of Alex North. I think he's great. I'm in. I am a fan. This covers everything. The next book I want to talk about is Alyssa Cole's When No One Is Watching. This was one of my most anticipated books this year, and the tagline on it is basically Rear Window meets Get Out, and that was kind of all I needed to know. And I will say, that's just spot on. So if you're familiar with either one of those, then you know pretty much exactly what you're getting in this book. And I don't think that's for better or for worse. I think when you talk about comp titles, they basically nailed it. I have not read Alyssa Cole before. She does a lot of romance, and this is her first thriller, although I will say it has romantic elements to it. And I enjoyed this. So this book is about a girl named Sydney, and she grew up in Brooklyn, and she wound up leaving, but comes home to help with her mom, who isn't doing so well. And she hasn't been, I don't know how long it's been since she's lived in the neighborhood, but she winds up coming home, and she's noticing a lot of for sale signs and a lot of changes in gentrification in her neighborhood. And there were a lot of people who had like lived there forever, and they kind of just sort of mysteriously disappear in the night. And Sydney's not quite sure what's going on. And then there is one of these like walking historical tours of the neighborhood going on. This is like, I feel like the opening of the book. And she's noticing this historical overview is ignoring the real history of the neighborhood. And the Black ancestors and what happened there is just not being recognized, and the historical notable events that have happened and the people who live there is really being glossed over. And she's kind of not having it. So she decides to do a walking tour of her own. And she winds up having these new neighbors, Theo and his girlfriend, whose name I don't even know, kind of moving across the street. And her and Theo wind up becoming friends, and weird things are afoot, and she's looking into them, and it's just sort of like sinister as all get out is basically, that was not on purpose. That was not on purpose. But it's like, is it conspiracy? What's going on? And people are leaving without explanation. People don't know what's going on, and people are disappearing, and she's just trying to put a stop to whatever it is that's going on here because something is not right. So I will say that I enjoyed the mystery part of it. There is a group of people of sort of an older generation who have lived in the neighborhood for a really long time, and I loved them. I loved that group of people. I loved the humor of them. I loved the banter. I loved how they are schooling Theo because he just does not know anything, but he is trying to befriend Sydney and kind of like wants to be a part of things with her. But what I didn't like is I didn't really love Theo. I just didn't love him. Like, I don't know how else to say it. I don't want to give anything away, but I didn't think he was like a great guy. Like, okay, I'm going to say something which I don't think is a spoiler, but if you just want to go in completely blind, then I will put a thing up so you know that I'm going to say something. There is a romance that develops between Theo and Sydney, and I didn't need it, I would say. For one, Theo moves in to town with his girlfriend and is like almost immediately, like by the time they move in, they're not together, but Sydney doesn't know they're not together. And it just felt like he was like a little bit of like an F-boy. So no, like if they were just friends, it would have been fine. Like if there wasn't any romantic interest between the two of them, it would have been fine. He just felt like a little like, ugh, to me in that sense. And there were parts of him I did like, but like I kind of found the romance to be a little bit distracting. So give me murder, give me mystery, give me sinister stuff, give me creepy things going bump in the night. I guess I'm more like, if I want to read some romance, I'm going to read some romance. And if I want to read some thriller, I want to read some thriller. So I didn't need the romantic part of it. So there you go. I enjoyed Alyssa Cole's writing, and I will definitely check out more thrillers that she writes. I think she did great atmosphere. She definitely like painted the town, if you will. I'm familiar with the neighborhood. Like you could see it, you could feel it. I think she did a great job drawing Brooklyn for people. Whether you are familiar with it, it'll ring true. And if you're not, I think it gives you a really good picture of the neighborhood. So I think she did a really great job on that. And there were parts where I was like flipping pages and things like that. There were just moments where I got a little bit taken out of the story, and I would have just liked to keep like my foot on the gas more, I think. And yeah, so that's that. So definitely worth checking out, especially if you're a fan of hers. But yeah, Rear Window meets Get Out is everything happening here. The next book I picked up is 600 pages. And I did not pick it up for a really long time because it was 600 pages, even though I heard nothing but really great stuff about it. That's a lie. Some people don't like it. I thought it was great. But one of the reasons I didn't read as many books as I normally would have is because I read a 600-page book. But I finally read Night Film by Marisha Pessl, you guys. I loved it. Like I was in. I was all in with this book. And this is another one where mixed media, it's like it's never been done so well before. Like you're on websites, you're reading letters, you're seeing front page news stories that look as real as you can possibly imagine. I'm trying to find it so you guys can see it. I mean, it's like as if it really happened. And I very much felt like these were real people, and that everything that happened in here is something that actually happened in real life. Like I kind of felt like I was reading true crime. This book takes you on such a wild, twisted ride. And this is about a journalist named Scott, who a few years ago, there's this very controversial film director, Cordova, who Scott was writing about and kind of made some accusations about based on information he gathered. And Scott's life basically completely fell apart. He became a disgraced journalist and his reputation was shot to hell, and he is trying to recover from it. And now something happens in present day and he is sort of sucked back into the Cordova triangle, and he knows he shouldn't go in it, but he goes in it, and his life will never be the same. So I can't say enough great things. I really can't. This is a book you definitely need to go into blind, but know that I found it to be a compulsive read. I don't even know if you can tell how much I dog-eared the bejesus out of this book. The only thing I'm mad about is that I don't have a bigger copy of it, because there's so much by the newspaper stories and things like that I literally was like trying to look really close because my eyes are completely dying along with everything else as I grow old. But it's just such a great book. It was so well done. I will say there was one part of it, and there's another book that I'll talk about now, and there's a book that I talked about like last month or whatever, a book called True Story, a novel, where I seem to unintentionally be picking up books that have like a fever dream part to it. So there is one part of this book that's like hardcore fever dream, and I don't love the fever dream style of writing. So there was that part where I was like, oh my God, but you're supposed to be all twisted and turned around. So it works in the book, but at the same time, I felt like that could have been like a little shorter. Like it went on a little bit longer than I wanted it to the point that I felt like a little bit pulled out of the story as we were fever dreaming. But other than that, totally loved it. Loved the characters. There's like rich Hollywood history in it, but it's like Evelyn Hugo. Like it's not real, but it feels real. Like all these people feel completely authentic. And again, disgraced director. And there's all these like hardcore fans of his. Like the fandom feels real. Just all of it. The obsession. And it's just this dark, twisted mystery. So I am tempted, and I'd be curious if any of you guys, has anybody read Special Topics in Calamity Physics? Because that's her other book. And that was a book that even before Night Film was really on my radar, I debated picking up a bunch of times, but I didn't. So I'm curious to read more of her books because I really enjoyed it. But I feel like I heard a mixed bag on that book. So let me know. But I thought this was just tremendous. And I'm so happy I finally picked it up. The next book is called All of This Is True by, I want to say it's Lygia de Penaflor. And I loved this book. So this is one of those books that did not get great Goodreads reviews, but I was really intrigued about it. And I think one of the reasons why it really worked for me is I did the audiobook. So I could see where physically reading the book, although I'm curious to physically read it next, but I could see if you just read it, how you wouldn't get the same feeling of it. Because to me, this is like something that needs to be listened to. It's not like Daisy Jones and the Six, but it's like Daisy Jones and the Six, where I think it was like made for audio. So you have a full cast of actors and actresses playing out the different parts in it. You have podcasts, you have interviews, you have letters, you have diary entries, you have news stories, and I think getting all the different mixed media in an audio version gives you the story in a way that you don't get reading it. Or some people just hated this book and I thought it was great. It's a YA sort of mystery, I would say. So there's these 4 girls who go to this, I think kind of like prestigious, I don't even know if it's like a boarding school or just a private school out on Long Island. And they are obsessed with this author who wrote this book that they all basically like worship. And the author, I want to say she's like 22 or 24. And this gave me major Dare Me by Megan Abbott vibes with Coach French and the girls on the cheer squad. So in this one, these 4 best friends go to a book reading that the author does out on Long Island. And they basically like befriend the author and they're like, we love you, we're obsessed with you. And the author's like, oh my God, so I'm working on my next book and it's going to be about teenagers in a like a private school. Can I talk to you guys and basically like hang out with you guys and learn about your lives to help me write my book? And they're like, duh, of course, because we're obsessed with you. She winds up befriending these 4 girls. And again, we're in multiple timelines here. So in present day, we know something really, really crappy happened. Something really bad happened that has divided the girls, that has caused a whole lot of backlash against this author, that has just basically turned the town that they're from on Long Island upside down. And we start hearing about it in bits and pieces, and it's everybody's different memory and everybody's point of view. And it's just twisty and turny and fun. And I feel like this would make a great, like, made for TV movie, like a multi-part series kind of a thing. I loved the reveals. I loved the 4 girls. I loved their weird obsession with this author. I loved this messed up author who, like, again, like Coach French and Jeremy, like, why are you being friends with these girls? Like, why do you have teenage girls at your house and you're drinking with them and you're hanging out? And it's just weird and doesn't make any sense, but in all the best ways ever. So I listened to this thing compulsively. I feel like over like 2 days. I mean, I think it's like an 8-hour audiobook or something. It's so good. It's like, it's everything that I want. It's everything that I need in life. It's everything that I want in life. It was so well done. So if you have any curiosity about it, go for the audiobook because it's the only way to do it. And I would be curious to hear what anybody thinks about it. So that's going to do it for me. That's going to do it for the books. These are the things that I've been reading lately. So let me know, you guys, if you have read any of these with thoughts, feelings, all the other stuff. Thank you guys for watching, hanging out, doing all the things. I hope you guys are doing well, and I will see you in a bit. Bye.